You've probably heard the phrase dress for success, right? But what if the person who looks the wealthiest in the room is actually the one in the most trouble? What if true, lasting wealth is something you can't see at all? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unpack the powerful and kind of counterintuitive reasons why the truly wealthy often stay completely invisible. So this all kicks off with a great story from a fundraising gala. You can just picture the scene, right? Expensive champagne, designer everything, and a whole lot of people trying to look important. But at this one event, two men stood out for completely opposite reasons. I mean, just look at this contrast. It's wild. On one side, you have the performer, a sales rep decked out in Gucci loafers and a flashy Rolex. He looks like $1 million bucks, but he's actually drowning in about 38 grand of credit card debt. And then you've got the builder, a guy who owns a plumbing supply company. His net worth? Over $8 million. And he's wearing a simple Timex. See, one of them looked rich, but the other one was rich. And that single paradox, well, that's the key to everything we're about to uncover. Okay, so what is really going on here? It all starts with psychology. There are these really powerful internal reasons why people with genuine wealth just don't feel the need to broadcast it. Let's dig into the first one.
All right, here's the first big idea. When your net worth is a secure fact, when it's just sitting there in investments and assets, you simply don't need a stranger's approval to feel successful. You already know the score. That burning desire for other people to see how well you're doing, it just kind of evaporates.
You know, this behavior is so common, there's actually a term for it: status insurance. It's when you feel insecure about your own financial situation, so you buy visible luxury stuff, almost like an insurance policy against people thinking you're low status. Our sales rep, the performer, he desperately needed that insurance policy. The business owner, the builder, his wealth was a fact. He didn't need insurance at all.
And it's not just about feelings or psychology. There's a very real, very practical reason to keep a low profile. When you look wealthy, you become a target. All of a sudden, distant family members need loans, contractors jack up their prices for you, and you start attracting the absolute worst kind of attention from scammers. Staying under the radar isn't just a preference, it's a defensive strategy. And listen, this isn't just paranoia. The threat is absolutely real. The FBI reported a 60% spike in so-called whaling attacks. These aren't really sophisticated scams where criminals pretend to be a CEO or a lawyer to trick high net worth people into sending them huge amounts of money. The more you advertise your wealth, the bigger the target on your back. So we've touched on the psychology of it, but honestly, the hard numbers are even more powerful. Now we're getting into the unseen financial math. This is where you see the real gap open up between just looking wealthy and actually building wealth. This right here, this is the core, unbreakable rule of building wealth. It seems so simple, but its consequences are just massive. Every single dollar you spend on a flashy car lease or designer clothes is a dollar that can't be invested. It's a dollar that can't grow. It's gone forever.
Let's make this super concrete with some numbers. Just imagine two people, right? They make the exact same income. Person A spends $30,000 a year on appearance. The car, the clothes, the whole shebang. Person B spends just $8,000. So that's a $22,000 difference. Now what happens when person B just decides to invest that difference year in and year out? After just 20 years, that one simple choice creates over $1.2 million. Seriously, just let that sink in. This isn't money from some brilliant stock pick or a side hustle. It's purely from choosing not to spend on looking rich. The math is just brutal and unforgiving. Person A looks wealthy, but person B is wealthy. This all comes down to what we can call an asset mindset. The truly wealthy, they just hate losing money to things that go down in value, what we call depreciating assets. A brand new luxury car can lose 20% of its value the second you drive it off the lot. I mean, that's a direct financial punch to the gut. So they optimize for long-term value and usefulness, not for the initial flash. All right, this next part is fascinating. We need to talk about the entry-level luxury trap. And I promise, what you're about to see might completely change the way you look at designer brands forever. Turns out, their whole business model is often built on a really surprising illusion. So it begs the question, right? Who are these luxury brands actually for? Who is the real customer for that logo-covered belt or that fancy wallet? The answer is almost certainly not who you think it is.
And here is the dirty little secret of the luxury industry. Their real business model, the thing that makes them the most money, it's not selling those $15,000 bags to millionaires. It's selling the entry-level stuff, the $500 wallets and $400 belts, to aspirational consumers. People who are stretching their budgets just to get a small taste of that lifestyle. And if you don't believe me, look at the data. It's kind of shocking. A study from the University of Chicago found that households in the lowest income bracket actually spend a larger percentage of their money on these visible status goods than higher income households do. It's a perfect trap, designed to keep people spending on looking rich instead of building real wealth.
Okay, so we've broken down the why and the how, but now we get to the most important part. What do you do with this information? How do you actually shift your focus from chasing visible signals to building your own invisible fortune?
There's this big lesson that a lot of wealthy people eventually figure out. The thrill you get from buying stuff, it doesn't last. Research actually backs this up. It shows that spending on experiences, like a vacation, a class, even a great meal with friends, creates way more lasting happiness than buying a thing. The memories grow in value over time, while the thrill of a new watch fades pretty fast.
So let's wrap this up with a super clear 3-step action plan for you. First, audit. Take a hard look at your spending. How much is going to appearance versus how much is going into investments? If that ratio is off, you're playing the wrong game. Second, redefine. You gotta train your brain to be impressed by substance, assets, skills, businesses, not by signals like brand logos. And third, and this is the big one, decouple. Do the internal work to separate your own self-worth from what other people think. That right there is the ultimate key to financial freedom.
Which brings us right back to those two men at the gala. One of them is free, the other is trapped, stuck on a treadmill of spending to keep up an image. And the only difference between them is what they chose to value. One valued the fleeting appearance of wealth, the other valued the quiet, powerful reality of it. The choice, ultimately, is yours. Which game are you going to play?